For the fourth day now, protesters have been on the streets of the Hungarian capital, Budapest. Recent law changes have brought thousands of people out to denounce Prime Minister Viktor Orban's right-wing government.
I think that discontent is growing, and with this, not only anger and frustration, but also those voices which would like to make change.
I have
had enough, and so have my friends. This is now not about opposition politicians, about who stands on which side, but this is about the discontent of the Hungarian society, that we have had enough.
The rally started last Wednesday following the passing of two new laws. One gives the government control over a new administrative court system. The other, perhaps more unpopular move, increases allowable workplace overtime from 250 to 400 hours a year. Viktor Orban's majority in parliament allowed him to push through the legislation despite complaints from trade unions, rights groups and opposition parties. They say increasing overtime could harm workers' health and the government shouldn't control the courts. The government says it wants a more efficient legal system and a more flexible labour code.
I think what these protests suggest is that underlying the apparent popularity of the government, as seen in election time, obviously, and also in opinion polls, there is a considerable amount of resentment and discontent in Hungarian society. And that this kind of resentment comes to the fore when the government introduces legislation that is seen by many as being against their interests.
The EU has seemed unsure how to respond to a government in one of its member states consolidating power by restricting civil liberties. But in September, the European Parliament voted to impose sanctions on Hungary for ignoring EU rules on democracy, civil rights and corruption. The government says those claims are not true. Viktor Orban says his aim is to build an illiberal democracy in Hungary, and he's faced little meaningful opposition. But anger over the so-called slave law is a reminder that it does still exist. Rory, Challands, Al Jazeera.